Dateline, Wednesday, July 22nd, 2020. Our top stories tonight. Bandai's Dragon Ball Super TCG has just celebrated the release of its 10th set, and in response to COVID-19, Bandai has taken the tournament scene online. We'll look at some of the top 8 deck lists from the event and give our thoughts on the state of the meta in Set 10.
Wizards of the Coast has drawn the ire of many a player with the announcement of $100, that you've heard me right, $100 booster packs for its upcoming Double Masters set. We'll look around the community at some of the anger surrounding the topic, and next up, a practically perfect product proves the Pokemon Company's passion for its players. It's a lot of alliteration. We'll tell you what we mean, why it's important, even if you don't play the Pokemon TCG, you guys.
And then, ending on a sad note, the obituaries. We're going to end with the end of the Transformers TCG. Why is it dead? What factors led to its demise? And then a discussion on the state of TCG in general.
All that and so much more on the world premiere of the TCG-NN Podcast, your podcast for trading card game news.
Starting with the Dragon Ball Super TCG, Rise of the Unison Warrior is the 10th set of the TCG, 10th main set of the TCG. It came out 2 weeks ago on the pre-release, and now we had the official release last week. And due to COVID-19, like mentioned earlier, we've moved into a more online format for the game. We had our first major tournament of any sort of standing, I would say, and with that set involved. And we just kind of want to talk about the decks because not what you'd think. There are certain aspects that we kind of predicted, some key returners, but also some really interesting decks.
Yeah, definitely some returning faces and some very interesting deck choices, if you ask me. Let's start and talk about a classic at this point, and I believe this was the winner of the event, U7 with Goku, the Red Blue Surge leader.
Absolutely, and to be honest, this is a classic. And if you ever talk to anybody who plays the TCG, this deck basically it's like a well-crafted pin. Anybody can write stuff on down in a paper, try to write a book, but somebody who's got a voice and something to say can really write just beautiful prose. And this deck is a lot like that. If you have a very competent player, somebody who knows the games and knows the matchup, this deck is almost impossible to beat. Honestly, I've never seen anything like it in TCG. It does game-changing things for very little resources once you get the whole engine going.
It does so without being broken too, if you don't mind me cutting in here. Like
absolutely.
It's definitely beatable, but it's uphill if you're not playing a hyper aggressive deck. Like in the control matchup, I'd take U7 probably 60% of the time.
Oh, right. And the thing about it is quite frankly, in the control matchup, unless you're playing a Surge leader, you're going to awaken at 4 traditionally. And Surge Goku would love for you to awaken at 4 because it's just going to play 3 cat blows and end your day. And you're going to be like, oh, well, that was fun. But
I think that's why Kidku might be coming back a little bit. I don't mean to give spoilers here, but we will see Kidku later in the list. I think that's why he showed up, because he can awaken at 6 pretty consistently.
Absolutely. And I feel like Kidku is a great aggro deck as well when it needs to be. Or I think it's a great pivot deck, to be completely honest, and it's also very, very consistent.
Yeah, the ability to search your deck for 30k battlers, which, I mean, U7 has a lot of responses to battle cards swinging at it, but if you present U7 with a threat every turn, and you're getting 3 energy worth of battle power for 2 energy and possibly out of your drop area every turn, while U7, it can pick up cards out of its drop area, but it does it much slower than Kidku.
Absolutely.
I think eventually Kidku just grinds it out most of the time.
Right, and the wonderful thing about Kidku too is that it's almost it's like a template. You can sort of put in whatever package or flair you want,
Oh, for
and it
sure.
still maintains that consistency. A deck that's not topped by any means or hasn't really been talked about a whole lot, that actually has a great matchup against Invoker is Pilaf. And the only reason I bring that up is just to kind of talk about the hyper aggro. If you can apply a lot of pressure before their turn 3 play, you're really gonna put them in a world of hurt. But I think that's probably, without spending an entire podcast like we could on Invoker, it's pretty much the generic list that we've seen. The only add-in, of course, is the set 10 uh, Goku card, which allows you to get into the 6 drop a little bit easier to play those cat blows. But outside of that, it's pretty standard. You saw a return of Tyranny's Cost, but that's more of a personal sort of
Yeah, I think that was a more of a personal call, maybe even a pet card by the pilot. Just
oh,
something to feel more comfortable.
yeah, and then you see the Roshi negate as well, which there's a reason for that, but I think we'll save that for another time because it's actually really interesting, and we probably want to bring in our local meta deck player Jimmy to talk about that
Yeah,
since
we've got a friend who's a very accomplished U7 player, so he could probably give better insight on the deck than we could. I will say really quick before we move on to the next deck, the guys over at Sensu Pop showed a albeit insanely hard to set up play, but there is a possible play where you can burn someone from 8 to 0 using the U7 list that's shown
that's
here.
disgusting.
Yeah, it's pretty gross. I won't tell people how to do it, and it requires so much setup that it will never be practical, you guys. Like, you have to have 4 copies of the same card in your hand, and 5 untapped energy, and a card on the board, and 2 specific cards. It's never gonna happen until the time it does, you know?
So you're telling me there's a chance?
There's the chance.
There's a chance. All right. Well,
So
I'm really eager to talk about the second deck personally.
yes, this is very interesting. I love the name, the surname, pet name, nickname that this deck has
Yeah,
been given. The Revi
and I,
Jito.
yeah, and I just love the guy who piloted it.
Oh,
He's a national treasure.
the top placement couldn't have happened to a better person.
Absolutely. We're also referring to Eggman. Please check out his channel. Quality content. He's been there from the start. Great commentator when he's in that role. Great deck builder. He's the one who created the buyout for Frieza's Army Healing Pod.
Whoa,
He
whoa, whoa, whoa! Don't blow up his spot now.
Yeah, yeah, no, I know. He he sees a lot of lines of play and does a lot of really neat things with decks that people have kind of written off or don't pay him a lot of attention to. Before COVID, he actually took Cell. I want to say he went undefeated in Swiss at the regional the day before the Tournament of Power by Dalon Mack. And
There was a
the
lot of
interesting,
controversy with that placement, though. If you remember,
yeah,
people,
yeah,
people
there
were pretty
was.
upset with what he was doing.
Right, but kudos to him for breaking the system. I mean, I gotta give it to him on that one. But I
And
also,
and here he is again playing green. There's
yeah,
about a 10, 12 card green package in this Vegito deck, which I did not expect. Although I love to see the Son Goku and Piccolo in the sideboard, anytime there's a modular card like that, like the new secret rare, the Great Ape, I love cards like that that can be one thing in the early game and another thing later. It's like you get an extra deck slot. It almost feels like cheating.
and something our viewers probably don't know about me unless they're our friends. I love the Revive engine. I've actually been playing the traditional Revive Coup Leader since set 8 on and off, and I've put a lot of time into it. And I just love that Eggman found a way to sort of generate value out of that package without overly committing to that leader. He also plays some cards that I think just get underrepresented and forgotten about in the Dr. Euro and the 2 drop Kaioken Goku. And honestly, the 5 drop revive out of Draft Box 5, the Angel of Destruction and God Rare, I've looked at that card so many times and was like, I want to play it, but it's probably not that good. and then he mainboards it at 3 and clearly makes it valuable. This deck is just awesome. I think
To
it'd be a disservice for us to try to dive into it. Go and check into his channel. He did a really extensive video on it. I just kind of wanted to fanboy out. That was my input, but I'd love to hear what you thought as well.
Well, this deck has tons of energy manipulation, which has always been powerful in Dragon Ball. And now that objection is gone, people I feel like have stopped thinking about their energy in that way. And like you said before, Egg just kind of thinks outside the box. He's got the blue Unison Vegetos, which I know a lot of people in our play group immediately wrote off
Oh
when
yeah,
they
yeah,
read
yeah.
it. And
Oh,
upon reading it again and thinking about how it works in this deck, we couldn't have been more wrong.
absolutely. And to be fair, I think a lot of us looked at it and were like, well, I mean, compared to everything else, it's kind of meh. Because I mean, at that point, Vajix had already clapped everyone's
He
cheeks,
kind of
and
sucked all the energy out of the room.
yeah, I mean, it was like it'd be like being the prettiest girl at the prom, and then a supermodel comes in, and you're like, well, fuck. It's like I thought I was gonna be prom queen, but never mind.
Oh
And that's
yeah.
kind of how the other two decks were. It's like the Cheeks had just dominated so much there with all the broken lines of play and how it facilitated those broken lines of play to an even more extreme degree. But I mean, yeah, I really do. A lot of people wrote this leader off. We can just go ahead and skip number 3. He's my least favorite character in all of Dragon
Oh,
Ball.
come on, man. Come on.
I don't even want to talk
This
about this.
this player worked hard. So we've got a
Oh yeah.
fused Zamasu in the top. Oh, 4 Zeno Unisons, Whis Coercion, Sensu Bean, Dimension Magic. This could not be tougher to beat down with battle cards.
Oh yeah. It's. I'm not gonna say it's good, even though it is, because I just absolutely despise everything about Zamasu. But to give it a fair shake,
The card or
uh,
the character?
everything.
Oh, you don't like the.
Everything.
It's a
No,
solid blue leader, man.
I mean it is a solid blue leader, so it is more the character. But that's not newsworthy. That's a whole other. That's a
Kettle of
whole nother,
fish.
yeah, Reddit subthread. Maybe I'll start that up. Why I hate Zamasu, but no, it's. I actually just like the fact that he got Tragedy Overground to work. To be honest, I remember looking at that card when it came out, and I was impressed by it. But then the more I read it, the more I'm like, yeah, this isn't really. Didn't ever really think it would see competitive play. Um,
And you
but I
look
think
and
it would.
see that big 9 up in the top left as
Right, yeah,
well.
yeah.
It just a player like me, I see 9 and I immediately just put that card in the chaff bin,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know?
But I think we'd be remiss to not discuss why this deck is probably good. Is not so much. Uh, I I wouldn't say it's leader centric. I think it's the fact that it uses all of the great blue cards and makes it work. That's a big hot topic at our personal locals. Is that blue by itself as a monocolor really lacks it's the weakest color is what a lot of the popular opinion is,
The
but
bomb.
it doesn't have weak cards. So I think that Gogeta being a generic secret rare ender really helped. But when you look at it, it's like you got Obuni, you've got the 5-drop Goku from the anniversary box 1 into the 7-drop Omen. You've got finishers there. It's got Bean. I think it's got arguably the best sparking negate in the game in Dimension Magic. You've got Whis' Coercion, of course, too, which is basically a free negate if you have an open energy. It does a lot of things well. You've got your Force of Will down there for our Magic fans.
The
It's
Trunks, the God
yeah,
Ceiling.
yeah. So it's just like this is what this is. As much as I hate Zamasu as a character, this deck is what makes me love this game so much because it's somebody looked at it and made it work.
And as much as you don't want to play this deck, you could see why someone would.
Oh, absolutely. Um, so to be honest, our 4th place finisher, and there were 2 lists of this. One was a boo list, and the other was, I think, a more traditional mid-range one, if I recall correctly. but the primary pieces are the same. I was surprised Vajik still made a splash. I thought the U9 stuff would really make it a fringe meta deck. I figured it still had some pieces to be good. I mean, the Bibbidi super combo is the most broken card in the game right now. I honestly thought that should have been hit over anything else, but that's just one man's opinion. But
It,
Vajik's did make it play, so
I think the Boo chain never stopped being strong. It just kind of fell out of
absolutely.
favor. And people are, now that U3 isn't a free win, I don't want to say a free win because those cards were definitely beatable, but not in a way that was very fun.
Yeah,
So they
right.
need
And honestly, yeah, it wasn't fun. That's
no.
a good word for
I
it.
think that's the main reason that the U3 cards were banned because they just weren't fun to sit across the table from, to the point where people were probably going to leave the game if they had 2 or 3 months of a meta where this was going to be across the table from you 60-70% of the time.
Oh, absolutely.
Looking
I
forward
kind of
though.
laugh.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good. Go ahead. Looking forward.
I was going to say, looking forward, the Vegeta and Trunks leader, I think, did so good here because when a format is really early, sometimes the best call is to just play the most aggressive thing because everyone else is still figuring their control decks and their contingencies out because the cards are so new. Sometimes it's
Absolutely.
best to just play like when cards are new, sometimes it's best to just play the fastest thing you can, and this deck
Right.
definitely meets that requirement.
We're playing the most tried and true deck of the previous format that just happened to get better, which we saw in Invoker.
Exactly.
I kind of laugh at the point where you said the boot chain never really got like it never was weakened. It was always strong. I feel like it was like the guy who took second place at World's Strongest Man. It's like, well,
Yeah.
I still squatted 1,000 pounds, but this guy squatted 1,001.
Yeah.
Um, but that strongmen don't really do the traditional squat. But that's a whole nother thing.
It's a whole
I
other
don't.
show.
Yeah, I don't want people getting mad at me though. All right, you want to talk about the elephant in the room and the hey, you like having cards? Well, too damn bad.
Well, too bad. I- I've been messing with this leader some myself. This is the commonly called Dredge Coup leader, or Furious Strike, or Ferocious Strike, excuse me. Super Saiyan Son Goku. This is your basic hand control list we have here. I think this leader has a lot of potential and is going to be around this format a lot because a lot of, even with the inclusion of unison cards, a lot of cards or a lot of decks, excuse me, are still battle card centric.
Absolutely.
You need
Uh,
the invokers on the board for U7. You need battlers other than your Gotenks, Unison, and Vegeks. I think it's just a generically strong ability on the backside.
I am going to take a hot take on this though, um, and I think you've shown me a couple of your other lists, so I think the leader is just generically good. So that's why I think this is a hot take. But I think the lists that we saw at this particular event are not going to be the list you'll see across the table whenever we get in that post-COVID time. Because I mean, the list right now, just looking at it without doing any super math, you've got 4 rebrands from the draft box, so there's $240.
Mhm.
3 of the Goku apes from draft box 4, so there's another $300 to $400, give or take.
Ching.
Uh, yeah, we got the Gogeta secret rare, the only secret rare that held its value so far. There's another 100 to $150. Dormant Potential Unleashed. That's the only card that held its value as well. So there's another $60 there. The Master Roshi Origins Kamehameha. For whatever reason, those are still like $5, even though those Surge expansions were like mass produced. For whatever reason, people just don't have them. But there's another $20. Your EDK or Cells Earth Destroying Kamehameha. Uh, another run of 4 of those. There's another
40.
40, $60. the Cybermen. I've got some foils. Hopefully those go up. But I mean, just in that alone, and then the draft box 5 Zamasu, which, truth be told, didn't. That card's a weird one. I've watched that card actually religiously. Um, when Surge Piccolo first dropped, this similar variant of hand control was used, but they used a little bit more of the draft box Goku Black Zamasu engine,
Yep.
and those shot up to I think as much as $60 to $80. They settled in at 30 for a while, and then they got as low as 15 for quite some time. So I feel like a good price for those is 30, but at 3 of them, there's another $90. So I mean, at some point, I feel like the that list is going to be very different, and I think that's going to make it really hard to play against because that first match you're going to have to like index the money cards, the power cards that they have to play against it. So I think it gives it an interesting matchup. But again, that's a hot take. I mean, we do have very competitive players who don't mind to drop the money in the game or maybe got a hold of the cards before buyouts and such. But it's a weird list. It really is. I think the online format really plays to its strengths because all you need is an internet connection.
Yeah, you don't have to actually gather up the cardboard.
Right. Which is something interesting about the current meta. But I'm gonna let you take the last one because uh, you are one of 2 players who I respect as Kidku players, in the sense of when I see you all playing it, I just say, all right, well, I'm gonna do some wonky stuff because they got the win anyway, so I'm gonna try some different lines of play. But
Kid
yeah,
Ku's fun. And like we were talking about earlier, I think it's positioned well right now. Like we
absolutely.
saw, you've got a lot of hand control, a lot of control decks in U7. I wouldn't want to say there's not a lot in this list, but
There
there's a
will
lot
be.
of, and there's going to be a lot of them in your play group most likely.
Shinron, of course, which we didn't see here, but is or Sin Shinron, I should say, a
Yeah,
mega Shinron.
more controlling decks. Topo might still be hanging around, and Kid
That's a
Ku's,
sleeper, but yeah, Topo's going to be around. I really believe that. But go ahead. Sorry.
yeah, but Kid Ku I think is very well positioned in that it gets to reuse a lot of its cards, and it's only been helped by set 10. This
Oh yeah.
the one inclusion this player made, which I've played this card in lists myself, but this is pretty standout, is Heartfelt Plea. Being able to just
I love it.
go being able to just go grab a 30k, swing, 4-star ball it up, grab your 4-star back, awaken, remove your 30k, play a Heartfelt Plea, swing again, and you can do that basically on demand because
Oh
of
yeah.
Kid Ku's awakening condition.
That's
So
absurd.
yeah, so you end up with a deck that's kind of jack of all trades, master of none, where you look at, I saw another player recently saying that Cooler was this way as well, and I couldn't agree more. Where you look at your opponent's leader and decide, am I the control player or am I the aggro player
Oh
this
yeah, it's the ultimate pivot deck. It's the ultimate pivot deck. I feel like you make a choice based on what you see and how the tempo's going, and then you punish your opponent, not respectably, but accordingly.
Yes, and I
What do you,
think that's the key word you used right there is tempo. Dragon Ball as a game, the tempo could swing very easily, and if you're playing Kidku, you're pretty much going to be in a position to take advantage of that swing. Uh, but sometimes your time just doesn't come up. You know,
what do you
sometimes
think of
they
the
have the answer.
what do you think of the inclusion of 6 4-star balls? I thought that magic number was 5. I've been
I
seeing 6 a lot more.
I have played 5 and I have played 6. I think 5 was more when Kidku was doing the red yellow
Because you
multicolor
just
thing
okay,
and
okay, that makes
needed
sense.
the deck space for more multicolor cards, even if the intent was just to charge them. And since you can search them and get them back anyway, the difference between 5 and 6 wasn't really felt in those multicolor lists. But
Fair enough, fair
in
enough.
in a list like this one that we're looking at here, there's only one multicolor card. So Heartfelt isn't even really castable in this
Mhm.
deck. You have to play him off your Awaken, which I'm not the biggest fan of, but he obviously got results.
Yeah.
So
What I love about this deck, though, what I think is the most appropriate thing is that it is absolutely a value deck in both monetary and playability. It's all about value. I mean, you look at this deck as from a market standpoint. As soon as the anniversary box comes out, those topos go down in price. That's the only money card in this list.
Yeah.
Those Bardocks have never gone more than $5. They're 2018 champ pack. Everything else is, I mean, the Goku child, or Goku Son Goku, the Adventure Begins. Uh, Bit of an inside joke there, but for another time. But I mean, that's the only expensive card, and that card never gets more than $10. I mean, this
Oh,
deck you could build cheap.
yeah, you could buy SPR Goku Children and still come out less than $120 on this list. You can even buy foil
Oh,
statuses.
absolutely. All right, so this is my first and only out of respect for people I've talked to, I have to put a small disclaimer for legal purposes. I traded an entire Goku engine pack or Kidku package for the UI Goku from Draft Box 4, a Bardock Ape from Draft Box 4, and a Goku Ape from Draft Box 4, and left that trade thinking I got ripped off. I was furious. I remember talking to the guys I card pulled with. I'm like, why'd you make me get that stupid Goku card? Because the guy I wanted loves Ultra Instinct, or guy I played with loves Ultra Instinct and wanted the card. Card hadn't broken out yet. Apparently everybody forgot Zeno Button existed at that point. Um, and I was furious to this day. I'm like, 4-star balls are $4 a piece. And in hindsight, I definitely won on that one. But if I didn't say that, 2 or 3 people were going to blow up the comments saying, "Oh, you call it a value deck, huh? Well, you didn't say that a couple sets ago." So that's my disclaimer.
Well, prices rise and prices fall, and you're the guy to
Yeah.
talk to about that.
Yeah, that's yeah, maybe another. That'll be another segment at some point. I would like to say is that we'll really discuss some market watch stuff. I think it's a lot of fun to. This game is absurd in that, but
Uh,
yeah,
Speaking of markets and value and money,
yeah.
what do you think of $100 booster packs, Tanner?
I think at that point, just go play blackjack. Like play $100 a hand because you're gonna have a better chance of winning. You at least have like you at least have better odds. When the casino is better odds than a booster pack, you got a problem.
Well, I think when you start squeezing your most financially endowed, we'll say, player base,
Yes. Yeah.
you create two problems. You have the players at the top of the financial pyramid, we'll call it. And this isn't in matters of income, it's in terms of investment before
Well, of course,
anybody
of course.
goes crazy. But the players at the top feel squeezed because, like, come on, Wizards. You know we're going to buy at least some of everything. Why do we need $100 booster packs?
It
And then
baffles me, man.
you have players at the bottom saying, I can't afford $100 booster packs. I just can't afford to play this game anymore.
Right.
And then you have players at the bottom selling out to players at the top. And then the players at the top are getting cards they need. They're spending that portion of their budget within the community. And the unopened $100 packs sit on the shelf and collect dust. And local game stores get hosed by that, man.
There's something that so I got in at Zendikar, M10 Zendikar. I got out in a straw the first go around. And I still loved Magic at that point. I got out because I was in college. I needed to get some money. I was in the middle of nowhere, so only my friends played, and they were kind of getting out of the game a little bit too. But I always still thought that Magic had a place for all socioeconomic statuses. Like you could still take a deck that wasn't super maxed out and maybe get a surprise factor or still squeeze out some wins. I mean, yeah, standard was always expensive, but you didn't have to play the expensive cards. I feel like now Wizards at some point got really money, like really, really money hungry because you think You got secret layer drop. So if somebody wants those, they're paying an arm and a leg for that. $100 booster packs. It's just I don't know what the thought process is there. I really don't. I know Jace the Mind Sculptor is being reprinted in this set, so like if I'm buying $100 pack, it better be like you better be naked or something in there because it's I
Well,
just it's unbelievable.
the new Urza lands make a panorama when you put them next to each other.
And Godzilla's on the other ones. Let me break a month's worth of money to
Don't talk foul about Godzilla, all right?
I won't. He'll come
That's
eat me.
Big G. That's my guy.
That's your boy.
That is my boy.
But yeah, it's you have a better feel on the community though. I mean, what do you think the community feels about it?
Pretty royally pissed off, I would say.
Yeah, that's
guys. When you have Tolarian Community College, excuse my southernness for a second there. When you have Tolarian Community College and what's the name? Alpha Investments making this video, when you have a guy who is all about education and fun and getting the most for your money, making the same video as a guy who dumps thousands of dollars into sealed boxes and just never opens them.
A guy who buys Black Lotuses for fun.
Just chilling. Yeah,
for funsies.
It's Rudy from Alpha Investments. I got entire binder of beta cards here. We're just gonna look through all of them. Oh, here's 18 Birds of Paradise. That's my mortgage. You know, no big deal.
Yeah.
But
those two are making the same video. Yeah.
You've got a problem when the community is that together on something, and I'm sure I'm picking two bigger channels here, but just go pick a channel that you like, and they've made the video. The $100 is too much for a booster pack. Why are you doing this to us? I mean, we're making the video. Here we are right now. And you and I really only play Commander pretty casually. I mean, I play some Arena. You play a little bit of Arena, but we're not grinding out FNMs. And we have the same opinion as people who are.
So here is my question then. And Tolarian Community College has a great video about this, where he goes through like the decades of people saying, is Magic the Gathering dead? Is Magic the Gathering dead? This is going to kill Magic. I don't think this will kill Magic by any means.
No.
But do you think Wizards is going to see some blowback from this? Do you think the community is really just going to kind of give a subtle like middle finger to Wizards on this? Or do you think people are going to begrudgingly buy these lottery tickets and hope that they hit the big one?
So you remember when you were talking about secret layers earlier?
Yes.
I spent $25 on a Plains because it has Godzilla and Mothra on it.
I mean, not to sound like a hypocrite, but I almost bought the Lightning Bolt one because I really liked it.
We're saying it's too much, but people will buy it, man. It'll sell. It'll do well. Those cards will be around, but I just really hope they realize that if we're gonna pay $100 for a product, maybe could we get go baseball cards with it? Let's get a nice wooden box that has my 15 cards in it, and it's carved by a dude in the Himalayas or something. At least give me something more than cardboard for my $100 investment. Even though I really like cardboard, and I have spent $100 on cardboard before, but that's not the point. The point is we're upset. It's too much money. Stop selling us things that are too much money.
Yeah, you know what? With that, you know what? I'm leaving, Jake. I'm gonna go catch them all. That's what I'm gonna go do. I'm gonna take my money and go catch them all.
Well, you probably could, because if Pokemon Company keeps coming out with things like they have, this trainer toolkit, pretty good value. I'm not a Pokemon player by any means.
Neither.
I think I own one Pokemon card that I got at GameStop when I walked in one time, but I played a lot when I was a kid, and to see Pokemon embracing their, I think this is a move to embrace younger players and players who are less invested. Excuse me. Um, there's just so many staple cards, from what I understand, within this toolkit, and they're not asking $100. How much are they
Oh,
asking, Tanner?
it was I have actually seen a variety of prices because I looked at a couple places and I let me double check on the exact price. What was the
Well,
lowest you saw? Because I saw some crazy prices.
MSRP $30, and
Right,
for
yeah, that was the base, but I saw like 25 in a couple places. So that's why I wanted to double
oh,
check. Yeah.
buddy, that's what I'm getting at here. You can provide value in a box for your game to competitive players or players who take their game seriously, and it doesn't have to squeeze every drop out of people. I think this
Right. And
product
I
is almost positioned perfectly because
mhm,
most players who are deep in the game will already have a lot of these and won't need to buy one, so they won't
mhm.
scout people as effectively.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And newer players can pick up a ton of staples for $30 and have better games instantly.
Right. And I think that's something that I you know, I'm sure with any company that's been around as long as Pokemon has, you can dig up some bad instances and sometimes they probably don't want to talk about. But I feel like the Pokemon company has just been knocking it out of the park here lately. I don't want to get too political because that is a hot button issue, but they use their voice, I felt, in a pretty positive manner here recently with everything going on. Um, just addressing things, and I feel like they've really put their player base first. I think that's something that they really care about, and it's an affordable TCG. It's a IP that people love. I just think they do things right. I feel like they are an embodiment of what some TCGs could utilize and do. And I think that's a good thing to bring up because as we sort of mentioned earlier, we're Dragon Ball Super players. Like that's our bread and butter. That's what we love playing. And we are getting another anniversary box coming up, anniversary box 2. It's a celebration essentially of a celebration of their third year. It was their second year last year. And it's good to see that because they survived the 2-year curse and it's still going strong and the community is growing. But the interesting thing about the anniversary box is it's like trying to be a core set in Magic, but it's also trying to. I mean, obviously, this was before the uh, the product we just spoke about, but it I feel like they should do what the Pokemon Company did because there are a lot of Draft Box 4, Draft Box 5 staples that or even set 6 staples that people didn't really get a hold of because of a myriad of different issues. Set 6 in Dragon Ball Destroyer Kings had distribution issues. Draft Box 4 uh, allegedly was short printed. Um, Tournament of Power was short printed. I mean, they've done a good job reprinting that, but there have been a lot of issues or sets that people didn't put a lot of stock in uh, that got bought out. Or in the case of Draft Box 4, they did reprints for cards that really weren't relevant anymore, and that hurt the pull rates on the cards that were relevant. But I feel like Bandai could take from this and
Oh, for sure.
realize that it doesn't hurt the game. That you can reprint cards in an affordable way, and that'll really open up the community. And we actually discussed this in our personal time, but some of these Dragon Ball decks are getting, and we actually kind of discussed it earlier in the show. Some of
Yeah,
these
we
decks
touched on it.
are getting upwards of $600 to $1,000. And at that point, if you're going to spend that kind of money on a TCG, Dragon Ball's not unless you just absolutely love the game, which I do. But that's probably not the best place to put your $1,000. You're not going to get your return on investment on that, like Magic.
No,
You're
you
just
don't
not.
you don't really see cards increase in price over time in Dragon Ball.
Right, and I mean, the biggest, devil's advocate response to that would be, "Well, Victory Strike, It's like, well, that's because somewhere in a Beckett magazine, somebody said Victory Strike was the Black Lotus of the Dragon Ball game, and all you got to do is make a Black Lotus comparison, and collectors go crazy. And yes, people are buying the card at $600, $700. There are listings on eBay that have sold at $800, but or maybe it was 700. I don't want to misspeak, but at that point, when we're talking hundreds of dollars, it's
You
a
get
lot of
past
money.
5.
Yeah. But my point being is that those are the only cards that have kept retaining value. Um, Set 1, 2, and 3 are pretty much you can buy. I've actually done it up. You can buy a complete play set of set 3 for under $150 if you do it right.
Decent
And
stuff in Cross Worlds too.
yeah, and it's I guess my point to that is reprint some of these cards, Bandai. Take a page from Pokemon and help your player base. And it's not the right way to do it in promos. It wasn't the right way to do it in promos before COVID, but now it's like, oh, come get these promo packs where the Goku ape is reprinted. It's like, okay, cool. I'll play a 64 cap online event where people get a hold of basically the announcement is made in an opportune time, and your usual suspects are the only ones who register in time to play. It's like, okay, well, cool. So now we've limited the card pool even more. We didn't decrease the value of a card that is overpriced. And this is coming from the guy who has every draft box 4 card, a playset of every one. Like, I'm not coming from a place where it's like, oh man, I wish I could buy these cards. Like, no, I own all the cards in this game. Like, I'm saying this as somebody who would be more than happy to get a bigger player base and see them do something like the Pokemon Company and watch my cards dwindle but have more fun and have bigger events and people and more competitive events and see the community grow in that manner than I would with anything else. But that's just personally my opinion.
That I think that's very solid. I think what you have going on with the anniversary box specifically is Bandai 1 is not very good at the reprint dance. And
Jeez.
they couldn't be worse at the reprint dance. And 2, it's positioned kind of like a trainer's toolkit. Like, hey, come grab all these staples from decks that have been beloved in the past.
Right.
Or
And that
new support printed for them is also included in the anniversary box.
right, which I respect that. Like that is so we basically just put Bandai took Bandai to the woodshed there, but I have to give Bandai a lot of props in how they handle their older sets being cheaper. The reprint leaders were amazing. That was a solid thing they did in set 9.
The reboot leaders?
Yeah, the reboot leaders, they've been rebooting leaders. They're continuing to do it. They've put out surveys for the next reboot leaders. Like they put new support for cards and anniversary boxes. They do a great job of taking old archetypes and making them relevant or at least supporting them. So like kudos to them on that. That is something they do really well. But I think they could do that and do a better job on reprints. And I do want to speak to Bandai did a great job on the reprints if this product would have come out in January. Because everybody's like, "Oh, Bandai should have reprinted different cards." These cards were the right cards to reprint when they probably put this out to print on to their respective printing company, where they reprint internally or externally. I'm not sure, but
Almost like they didn't know there was a fire till the shed had already burned.
Right, because frankly, Assimilated Ability was an expensive card. Raiders Warcry was an expensive card. The Ultra Instinct Goku was an expensive card. All the multicolor rares were, with the exception of the blue yellow one, which is why it didn't get reprinted, but they were all great cards at that time, at that format. But a lot of those cards were very dependent on the Xeno button, and that's why it was a Xeno button format. So yeah, when Bandai probably made that choice to reprint those cards, they took them 3 most expensive cards. But Exploiting Weakness was still an $18 card. I know because I bought a playset for $60. Like, nobody
70 a piece for mine.
Right. I mean, I don't want to bring it up because good news is I'm in Michigan right now. You're in Kentucky, so you'd have to drive 6 hours to come beat me up. But I bought a Son Goku or a Goku ape from our not co-host. I'm the co-host. Our host here for $20, and I thought I got ripped off. I'm like, man, this guy took me for $5 extra.
Well,
And
I think if we're both hosting, then we're both co-hosts, right?
yeah, that's kind of how I looked at it. As like, we're in this together, um, but
Kind of
yeah,
the editing
it's
software.
yeah, it's just it's frustrating because those cards are now the cards that everybody wants. And frankly, when you look at the cards themselves, I thought that when they came out, like I always thought Exploiting Weakness was the best card out of that set by a mile, but it didn't get a lot of love. So it's really interesting. It's
The
I
the
yeah,
draft box, the original draft box for uh when it was first announced, I think the fact that half of it was reprints took so much wind out of everyone's sails that they didn't even really read the cards until they started getting dunked on with them.
right. And I actually thought that the reprint thing at the time was a great idea because Fearless Pan, At All Cost Vegeta, there were some good staple cards, but by that point, those cards were already starting to be phased out. You could get Colossal Warfare boxes for 40 or $50. You could get Crossworld boxes for 40 or $50. Fearless Pan was a $10 card. At All Cost Vegeta, a little bit more expensive, but at that point, it was a $10, $15 card.
I
But
bought
they
two
were
of
on
them
the
for $12 around that time before the
right.
so
Yeah, and
it dropped in value pretty
yeah,
substantially.
yeah, they were on the way out. Even though I still think Fearless Pan is incredible, those cards were on the way out, and the pull rates were what was the issue. They didn't really balance that appropriately. Um, and honestly, like poll here, I'd like to hear everybody's thoughts. In whatever form, tweet at
Comment
us, put them
below.
in the comments, comment below. Yeah,
Mail us
carrier,
at
yeah, carrier
Contact.
pigeon. Yeah, whatever medium you want to let us know. Has anybody ever had fun drafting in Dragon Ball? Seriously, like, please be real. Like, I was on that train. You can, if you want to TMZ me and tabloid me in my run for president of Dragon Ball, and bring up my shady history. Yes, you can find comments of me during the release of Set 4 saying that the draft format is a great idea and it's just for drafting, so why are you mad? Like, yeah, I was that guy. So I was wrong. But my point is I thought drafting was going to be incredible and it sucked. It actually sucked. And that's
The,
why I don't understand the draft box thing. It's nobody likes to draft. The draft
here's
format sucks in this game.
here's how you win draft in Dragon Ball. Pick every blocker. Build a
Yeah,
deck and put every blocker you picked in that deck, or as many blockers as you can. And then draw less cards than your opponent.
right.
That's how you win every game of draft.
Right. Or the way you win draft is okay, cool. I see an SR. Thank you. And you can have the rest. And then you go do something better with your time.
Yeah.
It's just, but that's a dead horse. So, but speaking of dead horses and
Oh
dead things
no.
in general, the Transformers TCG has officially been suspended, or not suspended, but it is done. They are not
Longer receiving support.
right. They actually announced it on their Twitter and they put you to a page on their website. And it says the Transformers TCG final release, or Titan Masters Attack, is the Transformers TCG final release. For over 2 years, that's the sweet spot there for TCGs. For over 2 years, Wizards of the Coast has worked to create a great action TCG brand with the Transformers TCG. Also, if Wizards of the Coast release a TCG that's not Magic the Gathering, don't buy it. Do not buy
Duel
it.
Masters was fun.
I love Duel Masters, or the second release they used the Japanese name. I loved Duel Masters. I thought the shield system in Duel Masters is fantastic. It's a precursor to the life system in
Owes
Dragon
a
Ball.
lot to Duel Masters.
Right,
The
like
energy system, the shields, aka life. You could also call that
right,
the prizes from the
right,
Naruto.
right. Yeah, so yeah, Duel Masters did some seriously good stuff. I think they paved the way in a lot of ways, and the idea that using your life as a resource puts a different dynamic to a game. But they're going to support Magic first and foremost. They are, even if it's a parent company or a side company or anything of the above. It's just, I mean, Transformers is a pretty beloved IP by anyone who watched it from pretty much 80s, 90s. I mean, even I'm 29 and I remember watching Transformers, the like reboots on Cartoon Network. So it's a beloved franchise, but i- again, but anyways, to finish the announcement here, it says while the retailer and player community continued to grow, our product offerings didn't meet the expectations of the broader fan base to engage further with the brand. Additionally, yeah, the big elephant in the room that's wearing a mask. Additionally, the current global situation posed by COVID-19 pandemic presented additional hurdles. As such, Titan Master's Attack, released on May 29th, is the game's final TCG release. We're informing our players and retailers so they can make the best decisions regarding event participation and product ordering. The Transformers TCG team wishes to recognize the tremendous effort that fans and retailers put into building this great community. And there is a quote. The Transformers TCG was truly a labor of love for the Wizards team, and we saw that enthusiasm and love echoed by the players across the world, said Drew Nolosco, if I'm saying that correctly, Wizards of the Coast Global Brand Manager. We are grateful to our fans, content creators, retailers, and distributors for the enthusiasm they brought to the game. The greater Transformers TCG fan community is perhaps the best TCG community I've ever had the privilege of working with. Till all are one.
Sad day.
Yeah, and we're probably pushing a little bit of time at this point already, but I think I want to shout out a channel on YouTube. Kodak is I think how he pronounced it. Look up the 7 deadly sins of TCGs. It is a
We'll put
current
the link in the description.
what is it?
A link to it in the description.
Yeah, that'd be great. It's an ongoing series. I think he's on sin number 4 right now. But it talks about some of the things that TCGs do wrong that kind of cause their demise. And a side video or a follow up video to one of them, which is, I believe it's a follow up to video number 1 or Deadly Sin number 1, which don't have set rotation before the age of 3. uh, Talks about the 2-year curse, and there are a lot of games that just die out of the 2-year curse. And I don't want to plagiarize by any means here, but he also talks about how like there's kind of a spectrum for card games. Like if they die in 1 year, they were dead on arrival. If they die in 2 years, the game probably wasn't creative enough. He then references a video from the current creative director of Magic the Gathering, and how they've kind of grown as a I guess creative team to not shoot themselves in the foot, so to speak. They're letting their monetary department take care of that now. But
Marketing and all that.
yeah, but it's really interesting. I would definitely give it a view. It's the guy knows his stuff. It's really interesting to see him talk about card games that nobody remembers, like the Harry Potter TCG. Bakudan, I think, is one of the other ones. Um, and I'm surprised he hasn't brought it up yet, but ARG Argent Saga. I call it ARG Saga because they had to get their brand in there somehow. Um, there was not much saga there. It was I don't even know if it's still alive technically, but I'm actually kind of surprised that one's dead on arrival too. But he hasn't brought that up. But that's another good example. Yeah, it's really interesting. I'm really excited to see the rest of it. But I'll go ahead and read the 7 real fast just to kind of entice you all. Set one so sin number 1 is set rotation before the age of 3. Number 2 is don't use life decking as a mechanic. 3, don't have unmixable attributes. He takes a big shot at I want to say card fight Vanguard, maybe. I have to look at it again. I watched it last night at 12, knowing I had to get up for work at 4. So, um,
So
I'm yeah. So, use non-standard card sizes. Obviously, Yu-Gi-Oh is the exception there. Don't base the game on a movie. Require more than one deck and some dice, or don't require more than one deck and some dice. And then don't neglect reminder text. I'm really excited to see that one. Dragon Ball plays
They play it fast
dangerous
and loose.
game.
They play it fast and loose with that reminder text.
Yeah. They play a dangerous game with that and unmixable attributes at times, but they also do a great job mixing the
Well,
attributes.
The game doesn't prevent you from mixing attributes. It's just mixing them
Right.
very good.
Yeah. But I was gonna kind of ad lib here for a minute. I would like to hear the community's thoughts on some other things that you'd like us to cover. Jake and I really were excited to get this going and kind of talk about some things, and another creative outlet, like a lot of individuals during these times where we're kind of cooped up. And even though we see each other we did see each other on the weekends with masks on and playing card games. We've got a lot of things we want to talk about, and we hope that you want to talk about with us. So I'd love to hear what you all would like us to cover. I think going forward, we're probably going to talk about some market watches here and there, maybe do a separate video on that.
This whole episode had some market watch peppered in.
Absolutely. And I think that the anniversary box is ripe for a discussion in the market watch. If anybody remembers, set 1 SPR Frieza was $50 when the first anniversary box dropped. Lightning Fast Hit SPR was $40. Like an idiot. The regular SR versions were $10. I spent $40 on a playset of those. They are now like $2. So everybody thought Lightning Fast Hit was going to change the meta. Go watch a video, my pan deck on Attack on Productions. I made it work. I'm the only person who ever made it work. Trust me, I'm the best at making things work. I made Lightning Fast Hit work. I burned you for 2 damage. You didn't see it coming. Just like my election. Didn't think I'd get elected. Burned you for 2. I win.
Don't let him burn us for 2. Just burn us for 1.
Don't let me burn you for 2. I'm about ready to. Joe Biden's gonna make it happen. All right, that's where we get banned.
Well, we can't get banned. We have no audience. There's no one to be angry.
Yeah, right. No, Donald Trump will hear it. He'll come get us. But with that being said, I think another thing that we really want to focus on going forward, just some ideas that we'd love to hear, is talking about releases and kind of giving you a introduction of some things to look out for. Set 11 for Dragon Ball, the return to Zendikar for Magic, and different things like that. But let us know if you took the time to listen. We'd love to know. We'd love to interact with you guys. So I hope I'm not off base by saying that.
No, go ahead. Leave a comment. Like I was saying before, you could email us at it is 1 second. This is so unprofessional. Excuse me.
Yeah, if you ever see a picture of us, we are the epitome of unprofessional.
Yeah.
You and I both have long hair, and I think neither one of us have ever. I've never seen you in like. I don't mean this in like a burn way. Like I don't think either one of us has ever come into the scabbard with an outfit that's more than like $15. Like we are not. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know fashion though. You may have.
I think I have a pair of jeans I've had since I was 20.
Yeah.
On right now. So we spend our money on trading cards, not clothing.
Yeah, exactly. I can't afford to wear clothes when I'm dropping $80 a box on Dragon Ball Set 10 after I bought 15 of them. So
but we'll have the email, the Twitter, all that good stuff. All that'll be in the description. You can always just leave a comment on YouTube. That's where we're going to post this first. And anywhere podcasts are sold, just reach out to us. Let us know what you'd like to hear about. And like Tanner said before, we primarily play Dragon Ball. That's our Saturday game of choice, but we play a bit of Commander. I've played Yu-Gi-Oh and Pokemon in the past, so we're not entirely.
Yeah, I'm on a hearth.
Yeah, We're not
Yeah, I'm on a
entirely.
Hearthstone kick and Arena as well right now, so we might start getting some more Magic related. I think both of you and I both sort of have a guilty pleasure in Arena, so
Yeah,
that sounds like a bad porn novel. Guilty pleasure Arena.
guilty
Good
pleasure
lord.
in the arena.
In the Arena. That's some Roman shit right there.
Gross.
Yeah, gross. But on that note, that's the news, guys. No fake news here. Always the truth.
And we're horribly unprofessional and marginally unqualified. So let's do this, guys. We're just like you.
Yeah. Which means if you ever want to come on, hit us up.
Of course.
We need a fancy news outro.
Yeah, we don't have one of those written. So I was hoping you'd just do more Trump impressions, like talking about how Joe Biden's going to burn you for 2, or I don't know. Just like it.
Yeah. Yeah, Joe Biden can't play Kid Coup.
Okay, and that's the band.
Don't include that.
Oh, that's staying in. It's all staying in.
That's staying in.
That's staying in.
Oh Lord.